I'm just a couple seconds late this morning, but Good Friday morning. Good Friday morning. Well, as you can tell, my little talks for the last few days have been centered around the release yesterday of the novel Accidental Christ. It was the official international intergalactic release date of the book. We had a book launch at my local bookshop here in Sacramento, the East Village Bookshop, and I'm giddy with the news that it was very, very well attended, and we had a lot of fun, and we talked, and I was risque, I was ribald, I was shocking and blasphemous, and it was a lot of fun, and we sold all the books. Anyway, if you haven't got it, of course, I'm encouraging you to, but it's put me on sort of a meditation, I guess, if you will, on the message of Christ and Christianity and such. And in my own spiritual discipline, if you want to call it that, thelema, our prophet, Aleister Crowley, was heavily influenced and indeed more or less programmed as far as the format of his particular religious revelations. He sort of saw it as the next step in the evolution of what he had just come out of. So it's an important thing for us to think about, meditate on, and see how we are, whether we know it or not, have been programmed by about 2,000 years of other people's programming that brought us to this point. But anyway, so yesterday was the blasphemous release of Accidental Christ, and coincidentally with that, a couple of other big pieces of news. Well, first of all, the disgraced former President Trump was once again indicted. That's big news, and geopolitical news on that level does take on spiritual significance too. We don't always see it, but in keeping with talking about the circumstances of the life of Jesus, it was all wrapped up in local geopolitical, the politics of Judea, Israel at the time, but also in international stuff. It was all hooked up with Rome and all of that, So those things are important too. Then we were greeted with the sad news that Pat Robertson passed away yesterday. He was 93. And while we shouldn't, celebrate the death of anybody, and I'm certainly not doing that. He was a human being. He was a mammal like the rest of us, and certainly deserves. And nobody can put themselves fully in anyone else's shoes to pass any kind of judgment like that. And I've heard a lot of people, a lot of my friends and things like that, saying, "Well, now I bet he's sorry now. I bet now he's figured out how wrong he was, and he's burning in hell." And Screw that. No, he's not. I wrote up a little something particularly about Pat Robertson and that whole situation. But in preparation for that, I'm just going to repeat something that that I wrote a number of years ago about the afterlife and the Christian idea of heaven and hell. Do I believe in an afterlife? Do I believe in karma and reincarnation? Do I believe in heaven or hell? Am I afraid to die? The answer to all these questions is a qualified yes. On the other hand, if you ask me if I believe that when I die I'll be hauled into some celestial courtroom to appear before a God of judgment who will convict me on evidence of my failure in life, to sacrifice my intelligence and common sense in order to believe unquestioningly in a particular cult's interpretation of the details surrounding a historic or mythological event, and or my inability or disinclination to submit to a peculiar collection of ancient superstitions and tribal taboos, then my answer is no, an unqualified no. I don't believe in that. I'm perpetually amazed that stable, intelligent people with driver's licenses and college degrees, people who can finish the New York Times crossword puzzle and run huge corporations, people who otherwise display the most superior powers of intelligence and insight, can actually look me in the eye and tell me in deadly earnest that they believe that all human beings have been cursed by the creator of the universe because of the very fact that we were born. That because we are already guilty of committing the crime of life, the creator has condemned us to eternal torture after we die. That we can plea bargain our way out of this fate by perfectly surrendering to a certain mental and behavioral parameters that are outlined in a book composed of 66 chapters written over a period of hundreds of years by an unknown number of authors in an assortment of languages, an unerring book that has been translated scores of times by individuals employed by immensely biased institutions. That after we die, our corpses, at some unspecified date in the future, will reanimate like zombies and fly up from our graves and hover in the sky at the side of our deity, who, sitting on a flying horse, will slaughter 1/3 of the population of the planet. Afterward, the same deity will preside over the ultimate kangaroo court in the clouds and issue one-way tickets to the lake of fire to the newly murdered and all others in life who did not unquestionably believe that this was the only spiritual game plan in town. I'm sorry, my friends, I cannot see how blindly accepting the above doctrine, and this is where we bring Pat Robertson into the scene, can't see how blindly accepting the above doctrine or any of 100 others just as ludicrous could possibly be good for one's mental health. As a matter of fact, it appears obvious to me that in order for a rational, intelligent person to subscribe to such silliness and still live a relatively normal life, he or she must set aside a small corner of the brain devoted exclusively to religious mental illness and visit that area as infrequently as possible. This does not mean, and here we go, this does not mean that I think that individuals who fervently believe in specific after-death scenarios do not experience their expectations in the mysterious, timeless moments of the death coma. On the contrary, I think it's highly likely that one's visions at the moment of death mirror in perhaps nightmarish detail the crystallized reality of whatever spiritual worldview has captured and enslaved the decedent's imagination in life. For this reason, I'm particularly saddened when I think of the untold millions of my fellow human beings who have exited this plane of existence, still harboring torturous doubts as to their worthiness to pass such an impossible judgment. Shouldn't religion be satisfied with terrorizing their devotees into social and economic obedience during life? Is it really necessary to demand from these poor souls one last act of tragic self-condemnation, insidiously designed to trigger horrifying visions and unspeakable terror during the death experience? Pat Robertson is dead, and I believe he has gone to heaven. Now, it may surprise you to hear me say that, but I do indeed believe Pat Robertson has gone to heaven. As the old saying goes, he has gone to his reward. Actually, I believe we all go to our reward. Yes, I believe Pat Robertson was a despicable, manipulative, spiritual vampire and hypocrite. I believe he was the spoiled, arrested development son of a powerful segregationist U.S. senator. Unable to match his father's glory, he shamelessly used his troglodytic misgrasp of Christian scripture for, in my opinion, an unworthy purpose. But the man is dead at the ripe old age of 93. No, I don't believe he is burning in the fiery hell he imagined was the eternal fate for fornicators and liberals and communists and LGBTQers and vegans. Pat Robertson is dead. He's gone to his reward. He's gone to heaven. The heaven of his dreams. The heaven of his own creation. Just as he imagined. But let's not gloat at the thought, because that's what will happen to all of us. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under will.